All right, welcome back to The Pain Game. I hope you like the new studio. If you don't, well, it's tough because it ain't changing. Now, over the last 18 months, Turki Al-Sheikh has become the most important man in boxing. He got promoters who hated each other to work together regularly and even like each other. He's made fights we never thought were possible happen multiple times. And he has turned Riyadh season into the Champions League of boxing, where the elite face the elite and we get a definitive answer as to who is the best in the world. And it's funny because a lot of this should have just been happening anyway, but he was the man who made it all reality. And no one can deny that he's changed the game of boxing. And it looks like he wants to do it again in a big way. And in order to make these huge changes, he hasn't partnered with the guys he's already been working with in Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren. Fantastic world-class promoters in their own right. He has partnered with Dana fucking White, the other most important man in combat sports. Dana White, whether you love him or you hate him, he's the only man in the combat sports world who's built something bigger and stronger than everything that Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren have done. No disrespect to them. And there's a lot of debate and confusion as to how Dana and Turki are going to come together and make more huge changes in the boxing world, you know? Will they still have the relationships with all these other promoters? And will they still have all these other belts, you know, WBA, WBC, yada, 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 as a part of this new world that they're going to create? And honestly, I think as someone who's watched Dana White for over 20 years now, you know, I was a UFC fan from the get-go pretty much. I think the answer's obvious. What is Dana White's goal if he's actually getting into boxing when he's already killed it with the UFC? Why bother? There's only one word to sum it up: dominance. Dana White would not enter this game when he is king of one world to come and play second fiddle in another one. No chance. And you look at the way Dana White has built that business, has dominated every single competition who's tried to come up against the UFC and annihilated them. He ain't here to fuck around. And anyone, including the other promoters in the boxing game right now, looking at Dana White coming into this game, thinking, it's not a big deal. Don't underestimate the man. He's a fucking gangster, Dana White. Look, he's done things before that have annoyed me, but that's kind of who he is, right? He rules with an iron fist. He is not here to fucking play happy families and, I'm going to work with all these other... I don't see that happening. So let's take a look at some of the announcements and the interviews and see what exactly I can get from them to see where this is going.
I didn't know what to think when we first met. He and I have become very close friends in a very short amount of time, and there aren't a lot of people that I would do a deal like this with. There's no people, actually. He's the only guy.
That is very true. Because Turki's a winner as well. Turki's already become the most important man in boxing in a heartbeat. So Dana's like, you're powerful, I'm powerful. Together, we will destroy the competition here. You can tell. Why else would he do this deal? It's so funny because I'm watching so many people give their opinions of, will they do this and will they do... I'm like, have you not been paying attention for the last 20 years to the way Dana White works? The man's a beast, and so is Turki. Remember that whole respect the lion and all of that? He is not here to play around either.
And we have the same vision, and I trust this league in short time will crush everything.
It will crush everything. Do you think that's giving, let's everyone eat at the table, let's have all these other belts, let's have all these other promoters? No, it's, we're going to take over the game. And let's be real. He already did in the last 18 months. All of the big fights, all of the important fights were under Riyadh season. All this is doing is making it official, getting everyone under one roof, giving it a brand name, and making it into an official league. As much as that may take a little while, I don't know how long, if anyone can do it at light speed, it's these two guys, because obviously Turki has the passion, the drive, and the backing to do it. Dana has all of the infrastructure already, and TKO, when it comes to getting TV deals, getting brands to sponsor the thing, production that can go even bigger and better than we've ever seen before. They're unstoppable. And don't get me wrong, I respect promoters like Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. I think they're fantastic, right? What they've done is unbelievable. But this is David and Goliath. TKO plus Turki it's fucking mind-blowingly strong.
There's zero speculation on the format. You know the format, and everybody knows the format. The best fight the best.
Dana said it all right there. The best will be fighting the best, meaning we will have the best. Best believe we will have the best. And everyone else right now who has some of the best fighters, you're going to lose them. It's just that simple. Like,
ask him which the first event fight he will have in September. Ask him if you want to answer.
Hey, Dana, I have a question for you. Birdie just dropped in my ear the first event that's happening in September. I didn't know if you knew anything about that or anything going on.
Well, these are things that we want to pump the brakes on and announce these things.
It's going to be fun watching Dana and Turkey work together because Turkey has a childlike excitement around boxing. Dana is at the sort of, 20-year point of his journey, right? So he's a lot more conservative and chill and like, we'll announce it when the time is ready. Turkey just can't wait to tell us all. The fact that September, that was slated to be Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Bud Crawford, one of the best fights we could ever see in boxing. If that's how you want to launch a league, I don't think you could do it in a bigger and better way. You are telling everyone this is where the big boys play. This is where the best of the best fight from the jump. Do you know how many other organizations have ever done that in the fight game? No one. Every other fight organization has to build up to that. No one just starts with 2 pound for pound top 5 fighters fighting each other on a card. That's never happened in the history of the fight game. In MMA, in boxing, anything ever. So for people who are like, well, it's going to take a while. Why is it going to take that long? People don't watch any boxing events for who the fucking promoter is. We want to see the best fighters. That's the only selling point. Yes, promoters can talk and da-da-da-da-da. But if you haven't got great fighters, it doesn't fucking matter. This is a power play. And face it, who wins here? Is the fans. We win because we have always wanted to see all the boxers in a system where they can't avoid each other, where they have to fight for the number one contender, and they can't just say, I don't want to fight that. He's not a big enough star and all that bullshit. No, fuck off. You're fighting the number one contender.
I said to you the Times Square in the 2nd of May, and there is small cards in the end of June in Alcatraz jail in San Francisco, and maybe me and
I love Dana's reaction to this. Fucking hell, the way he's just like laughing at these, like, because Turkey has the most crazy, exciting ideas, like putting on an event in that old prison in fucking Alcatraz. It's gonna look so fucking cool. I don't know what kind of like atmosphere we'll get, but it looked like a scene from a movie. And he's just dropping these cards just because he can, because he's a fight fan too, but also he understands that this is the long game, right? We might not make much money on these early ones, but we're building momentum, we're building excitement. And the last 18 months has been all about that.
maybe me and Dana keep some promoter there.
Okay, yeah.
In the jail after the event.
Okay, all right.
I think Turkey loves to like joke around, but also there's a lot of truth in jokes, and him saying we'll keep all those promoters there. I really feel like Turkey's feeling like it's me and Dana against the world here, and that's how you win. You have to be a fucking ruthless player in the game here and be like, look, we want to take over, we want to make the best product possible in boxing, and there's just going to be a few casualties caught in the crossfire, and so be it. And if it is some of his old business partners, you can't take it personally, because the guy's put, a lot of millions in the pockets of these business partners that he's had. He's worked with all the boxing promoters. He's done them a lot of favors. And Dana was asked again after last night's UFC, which I will try and get a reaction out to in the next day or so. He was asked about this relationship with Turkey and what his plan is for the future.
So is there a world where you're on stage with De La Hoya and Bob Arum one day, all playing nice?
I mean, let's hope not. I would never say never, but that is not what I plan to do.
Boom. That ends the speculation. They're coming for the crown. Let's see how Eddie Hearn has taken the news.
I think it's brilliant. Like, I think what it shows is anytime someone like Dana White and TKO and Nick Khan want to make a play in boxing, that goes to show you where boxing's at. The one thing that I disagree with His Excellency and Dana White, boxing's not broken. Boxing's in the best place it's ever been.
He's saying boxing is in a great place right now. Yeah. Because of Turkey, Al-Sheikh. Remember where boxing was before this guy got in? Tyson Fury was sat there refusing to fight Alexander Usyk because he wasn't a big enough star. We would never have a definitive, undisputed heavyweight world champion. We would never have known, because he would have kept running, we would never have known who the number one in the world was. And Tyson Fury would probably still be undefeated instead of running away retiring. I don't know why I'm just giving him shots right now. The point is, boxing has been fragmented big time up until the point where Turkey came and got Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn and made them work together and got De La Hoya and got all of these promoters together and unified the sport. The only reason you can say it's not broken right now is because of Turkey Al-Sheikh. If you pull him out, the whole thing's broken again, because it's every man for himself, and they build these stars up and they need the money, so they can't risk them against other promoter stars, and you end up seeing people with shocking records like Tank Davis, who everyone was saying was a fucking pound for pound #1, and then he fights a guy who a lot of people hadn't really, he'd been heard of a little bit, but he wasn't a big star. He should have lost that fight. That's still going on even now because he's one of the few who wouldn't step into Riyadh season, and now we know why. Boxing has been broken for a very long time until Turkey showed up. Don't get me wrong, despite it being broken, I think Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn still did a great job, but you look at the cards we're getting now, those UFC style cards where it's just big fight after big fight. That last one, Better BF Bivol, was a colossal card. We would never in a million years have had that if it wasn't for him. And that's what we deserve. If you're charging us good pay-per-view money, that's exactly what we deserve. And for a long, long time, we got a good main event with a dog shit undercard, and we got charged quite heavy money for it. And that is broken. And that's why boxing was struggling to compete with the UFC. And look, I get why Eddie would say this, and there's no disrespect because I really rate the guy, but as much as boxing was all right before Turkey came in and it was still entertaining, it wasn't working properly the way it does now. And now, a word from our sponsors. Everyone online needs a VPN, not only to be safe and secure, but also to get access to some sweet, sweet content. And that is where Surfshark comes in, because a VPN is basically like wearing a pair of trousers outside. All the stuff that you want to keep private stays private. And Surfshark helps keep your whole online activity encrypted so you can browse privately and you can block ads and travel the world in one click. And say, for example, you're in the UK, you want to watch the 3 p.m. football on a Saturday, but you can't in the UK. But in Spain and America and other countries like that, you can. And that doesn't just apply to sport. You can change your Netflix location to get better Netflix or watch things like Hulu and other content from America. And another big help is when you're out and about, if you want to do online banking and you're on a public network, anyone can snoop and have a look at what you're up to. But when you use Surfshark, you can mask your IP so all your traffic is encrypted, which means your personal info stays personal to you. I use Surfshark for all my devices and only on one subscription. You can log into as many as you want, and they have 24/7 support if you need any help. And if you want to get Surfshark, you can click the link in the description or use the QR code on the screen now. And you can get 4 months extra of Surfshark for an unbeatable price. And the best bit is they give you a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk in trying it out. Just click the link in the description below now, go to surfshark.com/paingame, and you can get 4 months extra of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. So big thanks to Surfshark for the security and that sweet content, but for now, enjoy the video.
You have to remember, those governing bodies and those belts carry a huge amount of history and legacy. And fighters want to fight for those belts. Now, you got the ring belt, which is, in my opinion, I've said before, even before His Excellency took it over, that is kind of like the Ring Magazine champion. He's kind of like the established #1 in the division.
Good job, Turkey. Got that belt then. That was a masterstroke when you look at it now, because the one thing that people could have done is point the finger at this TKO boxing empire and said, yeah, well, it's got no soul, it's got no history, it's just manufactured champion. And it's like, well, actually, we have the ring belt, which is over 100 years old or something. Like Muhammad Ali had it. What more history do you want? And I get what Eddie's saying about the other belts, right? There is history there. But the point is what do fighters want to fight for more than anything in the world? Money. Why have Chris Eubanks Jr. and Conor Benn both pretty much rejected opportunities to fight for world titles and instead fought each other? Because there's more money on the table. And if this new boxing league can pay the fighters more than Eddie and Frank and still give them a ring belt, which is a very prestigious belt, it's an open and shut case, my friend.
This whole thing about one champion, this is not a new thing.
It is in boxing, by the way. One of the biggest problems for boxing is who buys the pay-per-views, the bulk of the big pay-per-views. It's casual fans. Casual fans need to get behind a star in order for everyone on the undercard to get paid. You need a star. It's very hard to build a star when no one knows who the fuck the champion is in a division. Because you've got this guy with the belt, this guy with the belt, this guy, interim, fucking silver belt, interim. Oh, fuck me, it's so stupid. This is going to make it a lot easier to build a star.
If we shook hands today and never worked again, we'd go back to doing 35 shows a year globally and still being the biggest in the world. But as I said just down there, I believe this is just the beginning. If everybody wants to work together, great. If there's a fight all of a sudden, I'm up for that as well. I'm chilled.
I admire Eddie's attitude, right? And you don't get to be where Eddie's gotten in his career by being like, oh no, it's over. I better give up now. Like, he's very much like, fuck around and find out. I'll do it either way, right? I'll either be a part of what you're doing, or if you want to compete against me, I'll go back to being a competitive promoter. I've done this for time. Here's the issue. Him and Frank Warren were always sort of competing for fighters, you know, trying to outbid each other, trying to land the best fighters. And ultimately, the reason why Eddie had a period where he was the #1 promoter was he had Anthony Joshua. He had some massive stars on his stable. It's the stars that make you the best promoter in the world. Obviously, his infrastructure that he's built, people listening to him being such an amazing speaker, all of that helps. But we're paying the money for the ticket to see who's fighting. And right now, I think Frank Warren's probably got a better roster than Eddie Hearn has. He's got an unbelievable heavyweight stable, for example. And Eddie could just go and do his 30-odd shows a year around the world and all of that and still make money probably. But he's got fighters like Shakur Stevenson on 2-fight deals. What do you think's going to happen when those 2 fights are up and Shakur is now a free agent and Turki Al-Sheikh slaps the offer down on the table? What? You really think Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are going to be able to compete with that? They're not going to have a prey. It's not even going to be close. And when every one of those contracts becomes available, boom, 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 and we've collected all the fucking Pokemon, which is what the UFC did, remember. There was a couple of little stars here and there and other organizations that consistently went bust time and time again. And you end up with the dominant force, and then you've got, you know, your PFL, your BKFC and them, who've got some okay fighters, but like, it's a massive drop down. Because if you want to claim that you've got the best versus the best, you need to own the best under contract. So Eddie Hearn might still be able to put on a bunch of shows, but the level of money he would be able to make from them when he doesn't have any of the biggest stars in the world, if that's what happens, and I'm assuming it will by everything I'm listening to, it could be a huge drop-off for Matchroom. And I don't want necessarily that to happen, by the way. I love Matchroom. I'm a big fan of Queensberry. I'm not, you know, rooting for people that are out of business or anything like that. But the bottom line is, I want to see the best fight the best. I'm a selfish fan like the rest of us are. And if we're going to be given that from this brand new league, and still have the history of the Ring Magazine belt and all of that good stuff, how could I complain? When what we've been given from Riyadh season has already been 10 times better than what had been going on beforehand. This is just going to be even better again. And as I said earlier, I really don't think a guy like Dana White, who is dominant in his own industry, would sign on to do something like this and take time away from the UFC unless they were going to dominate that business as well. And I think this tweet from Turki Al-Sheikh says a lot about his intentions here, because the editor of the Ring Magazine tweeted out, I honestly don't get all the fuss and angst over His Excellency's proposed new promotional company. A league will not work in boxing. Nobody can organise a sport that doesn't want to be organised. It's always been the Wild Wild West, and it always will be. To a degree, there will always be like a lower level of boxing that is always the Wild Wild West. I kind of get the point he's making. And Turki Al-Sheikh responded with this. He said, I heard Bob Arum once said, the desert is strewn with bleached bones of those who think they can change boxing. I am from the middle of the hottest desert in the world. It makes our skin thick and we can handle it in the end. Let's see, Dougie. Bet against him and you will be made a fool of, in my opinion. I once had a little chat with Turki, and the one thing that hit me about him was, you know, he's funny and he's quirky and, you know, he's got a good sense of humor about him, but he's a genius, actually. He's a very, very smart man. When you listen to the way he thinks and how he's 10 steps ahead often of what other people are thinking about. And his goal is to give us the biggest and best fights possible, and I believe that's exactly what we're going to fucking get. And look, I know people have mentioned like Dana White getting into boxing, is it a good thing? I get it, right? Dana has had a lot of fighters come out against him. There's been times I've been critical of him. However, I don't think Turki will run this in exactly the same way the UFC is run financially. I still think he's going to look after the fighters, and I don't see this being a similar business model. It's just my opinion. We'll see. Let me know what you think of all of this in the comments below. What are the positives? What are the negatives? I want to hear all of your opinions. As always, hit the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Pain Game YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.